Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I am your co-host, Trey Holiday. It's Thursday, May 21st. I can't believe how fast this month is going along. It's going very, very fast. But as always, you guys, we have some great headlines that have been curated today by our very own Big O. I got to throw it over to him. Hey, good morning.
Man, catch received. What's happening?
Hey, how are you?
Man, I'm all right. You know what I'm saying? It's cold and rainy again.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Despite that, I'm feeling good. But speaking of cold and rainy, though, I think we might have some footage here later on in the show. There's a police sweep that's actually going on two blocks from here. It's 2 days in a row police action. They had a SWAT team out there yesterday looking for somebody, but today they're sweeping out the homeless right over on Weller Street, and so there's a lot of activity going on that. I know Dirty Hands. Our super producer extraordinaire was down there earlier, so we might have some footage from there later on in the show.
Absolutely. One of the things about having a great network within the community is Vanishing Seattle, CID Coalition. They hit us up like, hey, y'all need to know they're doing sweeps this morning. So we were like, what? Last night trying to plan and get out there. So we'll definitely show you guys what's going on out here, in terms of homelessness. A lot going on.
Yeah, and continue with the headline. Speaking of homelessness, Seattle Public Utilities yesterday announced that they have two mobile shower facilities that they're rolling out. There it is right there, a picture of it. And basically it's 3 showers, 3 toilets, and they're sanitized after each use. One's going to be at King Street Station, and another one is going to rotate between the Seattle Center and Lake City. And basically you can homeless people can make a reservation to use the shower system there. It's part of Seattle Public Utilities initiative here to try to make hygiene as accessible as possible to those that are experiencing homelessness right now. There's an awful lot of people, and sometimes we think of homelessness, especially right now in downtown Seattle, you think of people who are they're at a real certain state. A lot of them, drug addiction. There's a lot of people that are actually just sleeping in their car right now. You know what I'm saying? And they're experiencing homelessness sleeping in their car. And so when you think of these mobile facilities with showers and toilets, there's a lot of people who, have a hard time. And now before, if somebody was sleeping in your car, the trick to that is you get a gym membership, pay $30 a month or something, and you shower at the gym. But all the gyms are closed. So the usual routes for hygiene for a person experiencing homelessness, a family, and they're living in their vehicle, there's the options for hygiene have dropped.
Yeah. And
so that's why they've launched these trailers. And my understanding is Seattle Public Utilities is planning to actually roll out a few more trailers as well.
Well, one of the things that you just hit on the head there is there's a lot that are they don't technically qualify as homeless, but they are living in transient lifestyle. You think about people that are couch surfing and things like that. So it's great that they did devise that plan for the mobile hygiene. Just yesterday, my kids and I dropped by the day shelter in Federal Way, and it wasn't completely packed. I was expecting, there to be just tons of people, but when there are certain locations in different areas and people that are transient or are homeless understand and know what services are there, that's another great opportunity for folks, another great option. So, any of those day shelters, they do provide showers, they provide the open bathrooms, they can go there, wash their clothes, grab a meal, even grab some stuff that they can take back home or take back to their cars to cook quickly. They have a lot of those kind of halfway prepared meals that they can then take in, and so they can go there, bring stuff, and use the microwaves. And so there are day shelters also available.
Right. I mean, maybe the irony of all of this is that, and I believe the footage is, and we're going to get to it here in a second. So we'll circle back around to these sweeps. But the irony is that maybe people being swept out today very well might be, I'm saying the timing is unique, and also these trailers led all of the city of Seattle public communication. So the mayor, SPD, Seattle, the utilities. So it very well could be that the city of Seattle made a lot of noise about these hygiene trailers because they knew today they were going to be sweeping the homeless. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so,
right. They were preparing.
Well, they were preparing, but you know what I'm saying? We're on top of both stories. So, man, in other news, Seafair, it's been canceled. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, what the Seafair people are saying is that it's impossible for them to have a socially distanced, you know, situation. How are you gonna be at the parade? You know what I'm saying? How are you gonna be down there at the pits? Yeah, I think the only thing we might be able to enjoy is the Blue Angels, but who knows if that's gonna happen. We have a clip right here from King 5 that kind of details Seafair being canceled this year.
1949, that was the first Seafair, followed immediately by the next year by the Hydros. Normally the Hydros are here, so I'm in Genesee Park, that's Dan Sayers Pits. During Seafair, this place is a complete zoo. It's very quiet now, and it's going to stay quiet this summer. It's our annual party blowout. Seafair has happened every year since 1949. The Hydros started in 1950, and this will be the first year without Seafair in any form since then. The Blue Angels are a little more complicated. They started in 1966 with Seafair, but had to take a break here and there for various reasons.
When that goes away in one fell swoop, it just kind of hits you hard and tells you this is where we are right now.
Last year, our own Kim Holcomb from Evening was the Seafair queen.
And technically I still do, because you know the whole plan was to coronate someone new this summer.
Back in the day when I was a kid in Seattle, there were 2 big days a year, Christmas and Seafair.
And Hydro legend Chip Hanauer, a big part of Seafair for decades.
It's our block party. It's our company picnic. It's the best weekend climate-wise. If you look, it's the best chance of a great weekend in Seattle.
But if anything, maintaining social distancing at Seafair would be, to say the least, challenging.
Yeah, so, you know, Daryl was just over there aging himself. He just talking about Chip Hanauer used to be his guy. You know what I'm saying? The golden days of the Hydros. But nah, I remember Chip, you know what I'm saying? It used to always be a big thing. The Squire Shop, Miss Budweiser, Miss Oh Boy Oberto, you know what I'm saying? Down there at the Stan Sayer Pitch. This year, no Seafair, and I'm assuming that that's going to trickle down to a lot of the Seafair associated events, possibly a Moja Fest as well. I would hate to see a Moja Fest totally disappear. Maybe it's some kind of situation. I don't know.
Do we have to do a virtual Emoji Fest this year?
Might be cracking though. You know what I'm saying?
There's a lot of planning involved in that, so I'll have to check in with the team.
Right. So another day, another story about a racist attack. You know, we brought you the story that King 5 reported a guy named Kurt Lynn. He was at Home Depot in Soto. Somebody was just the one harassing him. You know what I'm saying? Tell him the virus was his fault. You feel me? And so, you know, and he called the police. Police was like, there's nothing we can do. Well, last night or the night before, there was an Asian couple walking. This guy ran up to him, pushed him, spit on him, told him, you know, basically it's their fault for the virus, everything. Let's roll this clip, Daryl.
In Seattle, a man caught on camera attacking an Asian couple. This video shows him just pushing right into them down here. Then later on, he comes back and he spits on them. Police are now investigating it as a bias crime. And Kairos 7's Dee Dee Sun explains why investigators are reaching out to the public for help.
The couple was right where I am now when that suspect suddenly assaulted them, shoving that man in the face, and later shouted, "It's all your fault." Health experts say these types of crimes are severely underreported. Seattle police investigating another bias crime. This Asian couple is just walking when a man attacks the couple, shoves the victim, and knocks off his glasses.
I mean, that just makes me so sad. I think that's horrible.
Then police say the suspect told the victims, "It's all your fault," before taking off his mask and spitting on the victim. Seattle police are now asking for your help, telling you to call if you recognize this man. I showed the video to people who work in the area.
I mean, seriously, why the hell would you want to do that even?
He wonders if the ongoing stay-at-home orders are spurring these incidents.
People are going pent up inside, a bunch of emotional damage.
Teresita Baitayola is the president of International Community Health Services, which serves a large Asian population.
I definitely believe the numbers are much higher than what's been reported. People are really nervous and afraid about doing this.
This is the second bias crime Seattle police are investigating in about a week. Last Tuesday, this victim said he was harassed in the parking lot of this Home Depot in the Soto neighborhood.
I drove past the vehicle, and that vehicle, the driver of that vehicle shouted out at me, go back to China, open your eyes.
It's always a gut punch to hear anytime there's xenophobia, racism.
Teresita says her staff and their patients have also experienced similar incidents, and they're urging anyone who needs it to reach out for help.
So, all right, so a few things here. One, you know what I'm saying? Clearly these people know like the people who to pick on. You see what I'm saying? I mean, somebody like that, I don't really see him like running up on us. But you know what I'm saying? So they take advantage of people. You know, you see what I'm saying? Like, dude ain't really hard like that. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But here's something that's real interesting, and we've been having this conversation, is that, you know, people always think that, like I said, that Seattle's super liberal and it's this and that, everything else. But it's like, man, you know, tough times expose who people really are. So, you know, with this segment here on Cairo that we just aired, the woman who was being interviewed there, she was like, well, you know, it's mental health, it's COVID. I was like, man, stop giving these racist people a pass. They always get a pass.
Yeah.
They're just racist. Like, it don't mean nothing with COVID. I mean, COVID is just exposing. It's like the same thing when they tell people it's like money doesn't change you. It just exposes who you really are. It's the same thing with these issues around hate, COVID, everything else. COVID ain't changed nobody. It just brought the real them to the surface. Look how many excellent people, how many people were just regular people, and now they're just superstar heroes in our neighborhood because the very best, COVID brought out the best of them, exposed who they are. It's the same with these racist people, man. It's not mental health. They're just racist.
Absolutely.
We need to stop making excuses. Stop checking the box for them, man, and making excuses for them. Seattle has racist people. You know what I'm saying? Don't blame COVID. You know, I mean, Seattle has way more good people than it has racist people. Let's be clear. You gotta stop making excuses for these people, man.
I love your approach on this because you're absolutely right. I think that Seattle is always doing some form of splaining, whether it's mansplaining, you know, county splaining, you know, policy splaining. There's always some type of splaining going on, and they're trying to analyze things in ways that they don't need to. I agree with you on this one. Oh, call a spade on this.
Yeah, and so, you know, again, the mayor, the chief, all these guys, you know, they're reaching out, and I think it's important. People are like, well, it's Africa Town. Why are you guys covering this and that? Because it's like, man, when it comes to these kind of issues, this is a barometer. You see what I'm saying? And Seattle, time and again, like a lot of America, when things don't go its way, they want to blame the next person. Let's blame the Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? The rapists, right? Now it's like, let's blame the Asians. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna be too much longer till they're like, let's blame the niggas. You see what I'm saying? Right. And so it's like, man, if we stay quiet, it's the old saying, when they came for them, no one said anything. When they came for this, no one said anything. I'm cool, man. I'm gonna speak up. See something, say something. You know what I'm saying? Hate is on the rise in Seattle, and we would be fools to think that we're not on the list. You see what I'm saying? Now, the approach might be different. They know they ain't running up over here and just gonna mush somebody in the head with their woman and think they just gonna run off. Like, you know what I'm saying? The tactic might be different, but best believe we on the list. You know what I'm saying? It would be foolish to think that we're not.
I agree. And with us, you know, being a very small percentage of the population of Washington State, it is important that we look at this and that we pay attention right now, because any type of racial discrimination that's happening to any ethnic group, it's almost as if we're bound to have it happen to us. We've seen that time and time again throughout history. We can't keep ignoring those facts. They are what they are. So the one thing we could do is learn from them. The one thing we can do is learn from them. So hopefully we begin to do that,
Right. So moving on to this kind of a sad story here, man, is that, man, closing of a historic record store, you know what I'm saying? And it's been happening, more and more businesses closing, but This one's not coming back. Bop Street Records over in Ballard. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a music person, like I'm a music person. And, you know, the actual vinyl record stores, of course, have been closing for years. And so they're closing. Basically, what he said is the majority of his clients used to actually fly into Seattle and buy vinyl. Like, that's how, you know, that's how known the record store is. But there's nobody flying, there's nobody doing anything, so he's selling the whole collection to a nonprofit, and they're going to make the music available online.
4 decades in business, Seattle's Bop Street Records is playing its final tune. The owner is retiring and selling off his huge collection of rare and vintage records. KIRO 7's Ranji Sinha explains how the shop's music will live on.
But it never seemed like work.
It's not just one of Seattle's most renowned record shops, it's one of the world's most renowned record shops.
Turn on the lights, put out my open sign, and just turn on some music. I've had many customers who have been customers of mine for over 30 years. Like my dad used to bring me in your store when I was 10 years old.
Bop Street Records has been Dave Voorhees' passion since he opened in 1979. Songs have played from this Ballard location for over a decade. Now he is closing up sales from one of the world's most prolific collections.
It's bittersweet, you know.
Hundreds of thousands of vinyl records, nearly 22 tons, are being bought by a nonprofit called Internet Archive, with plans to preserve it all.
This is probably the best deal that could have come along, easily, because I had to empty the store.
Dave Voorhees realized that the coronavirus could kill his sales. He estimated a large percentage of the business were people flying into Seattle from around the world to buy records. Those flights were not coming back anytime soon, so he decided to close up shop. These boxes are filled with the records that will be shipped out.
Wow. Did you see that? Dirty hands be moving around the set. So yeah, man, I mean, it's kind of, yeah, as somebody, you know, my brother's a DJ, carrying records and everything. I know so many DJs. I'm surprised that I didn't see Supreme LaRock over there, but who we did see on checking out his Facebook page was DJ Topspin, who actually was there yesterday, helped to pack up the place, you know what I'm saying, all of those records. Topspin, a big fan of vinyl. Supreme's the biggest fan of vinyl I know, but you know, for all DJs that are vinyl DJs, man, it's a loss, because this was a store that you could go to and, you know what I'm saying, pick up some music. So,
man, I know that my girl over at Vanishing Seattle and the team over there, you know, covering things like this, because as our historic cultural hubs close down, you know, we're forced to figure out where we congregate. COVID is making us all think about cultural celebration and, you know, collaboration anyway. I mean, so much of the stuff, you know, people are having like Zoom doom, right? Where they're just, oh, another Zoom, another virtual meeting. You know, people are missing that connection. And so it's sad to see, you know, another one of our, you know, great cultural kind of creative spaces close down. I am happy that the work will live on and that it will be digitized. So that's the great thing about all of this, is that it does continue on.
Yeah, I mean, digital's kind of overrated, man. I mean, no, it's good, like, that it won't be lost and it's preserved, so I agree. But it's like digital is just mad overrated. I think people are seeing, you know, the appreciation to actually hear something, listen to something. It's those small imperfections in a record. It's the way that the needle, you know, goes on the groove of the record and everything. Make sure there's no lint on the needle. And I mean, it's all these small things is part of the experience. So next up, Governor Jay Inslee, he released a video yesterday with him chopping it with the National Guard. A lot of governors are kind of chiming in. You know, our president decided to end the National Guard deployment on the 89th day of their deployment, because 90 days means that, you know, they would get retirement benefits and all kinds of other benefits, because it's a 90-day deployment. So, and we talked about this yesterday, that President Trump was like, nah, we're going to end it on 89 days, so we're not going to give him our bread. And you know, he's the guy who's like, I love the military, or this and that, or whatever. So a lot of the governors have been chiming in, saying like, nah, man, you have to extend the deployment. So Governor Inslee released this video yesterday with him talking to some National Guardsmen and women about their role doing contact tracing.
Moving from the blunt instrument of social distancing. And to replace that blunt instrument, we now have contact tracing. The fundamental mission here is to help Washingtonians have the knowledge they need to protect themselves and also protect their friends and neighbors and co-workers who they might have had contact with. What kind of reaction have you gotten?
Most of the time they've either tested positive or they've been living with someone who tested positive, so they understand that there are risks associated with going out and spreading it. I haven't had anyone who's combative about staying home.
That's great. We're there to help people, not to police them, to ask them to do things voluntarily.
We're not trying to find out where they're going or anything like that. We're just trying to gain a little bit more information about the disease and to better help stop the spread of it, sir.
This is the most important thing in the state of Washington right now. So I just want to thank you for what you're doing. Keep it up. Be safe.
Thank you, sir.
Good luck. Thanks. Wash your hands.
Man, so, you know, like I said, Inslee is kind of doing his part, letting people see what the guardsmen have been up to. You know, like we said yesterday, it turns out that they're not blocking any roads. They're not, you know, they don't have their personnel carriers or the tanks blocking people's neighborhoods, but what they are doing is contact tracing and handing out a lot of food.
Well, you know, this is the thing. I mean, literally, I don't watch the news because we do this show, and then I have to follow up on the clips that we have, but my stomach just turned. I mean, Trump doing that on the 89th day. I know we had talked about it yesterday. I didn't realize that it was official. Like, to me, you can't get any more deplorable as a president. How would anybody?
You know, when Trump heard you say that, he said, "Hold my beer."
How
he can get more deplorable.
I mean, any of his supporters, that when you talk about all of his love for the military and service and giving to your country, I mean, all of those people that are the gun toters, the NRA, I mean, that also believe in that, you know, patriotism of America, all of that. How do you not lose them by doing something like this? That's my question, is how do they still support you when it's clear you don't care about anybody but yourself?
Who would have thought that 3 years ago that Inslee would be a bigger supporter of the military than Trump?
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm blown by that.
Things definitely change here, you know what I'm saying? And it's been interesting. So we have something here on these sweeps. I think Dirty Hands, and by the way, if you just tuned in, that's our production assistant extraordinaire. You know what I'm saying? We can't reveal his true identity, so he goes by his street moniker, Dirty Hands.
That's his business name. You better not street it up for him.
Well, by far his business
That's his
name.
LLC, okay? He's official. But yeah, today, y'all, we were out here, and shout out to my girl, Cynthia Brothers, over at Vanishing Seattle and the CID Coalition. We were out here this morning getting some footage of the police doing sweeps on homeless camps. Now, we heard about this starting yesterday. Earlier this week, they were talking about it, and you know, they were going to be doing this. Now, they started yesterday, and there was already an uproar from the community. So CID Coalition, along with others, and Africatown as well, we are on this. It has a petition right now at change.org. I'll make sure we have the link in our clip here for you guys to like see it in the comments. But they have an actual petition where people can sign on to say that they are refusing to agree to these kinds of things.
What was going on here earlier?
I mean, this is the police literally on Weller, 12th and Weller, doing sweeps of the tent encampment that was there for the homeless. They're grabbing their tents. They're cleaning up the trash. They literally had dump trucks. They're looking at them pulling out people's tents. I mean, these are people's livelihoods right now that they are dismantling, disbanding, putting them in the trash. This is actual investment for some homeless folks, right?
Can you play that clip again, Daryl?
They have been saving their money to get this equipment, saving their money to have some type of supportive, protective covering during the rain, the sleet, the snow.
I mean, and I know that the opposite side of this argument, though, Triana, is that, man, these people are living here in an unsafe, unsterile, dangerous environment. Is the flip side of that argument, and that by allowing them to stay there, then the city is actually enabling homelessness. Now that's the other side of the argument. What do you have to say to that?
My thing is where do they go? So also this morning, one of our board members, shout out to you, Isaac Joy, sent us over the city's response to homelessness. They plan to start to create some supportive housing units that will actually house homeless folks permanently, bring supportive services into these buildings so that they can find employment, stable employment, and then only be paying 30% of their income toward their unit for living. But they are creating some supportive housing structures that will be financed through private and public dollars that will have basically supportive services on site in transitional spaces. So they're looking to do that and really eradicate the 6,500 homeless population by 2026. So it's a pretty comprehensive plan on homelessness, and we see that they're doing something there. But those housing units don't exist now. So what are they doing now for these people when they rip their tents away? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I got a lot of thoughts on that. Probably not enough time to go deep into, but like, man, I mean, it's one thing, I think, to make people move. It's another thing to do this and that. But man, the tents, that's like throwing away somebody's house. I mean, you could very well be like, man, take your tent and leave the area. You know what I'm saying? But to throw away the tent, it's like, man, and maybe that's why the city made such a big deal announcing their hygiene showers yesterday. Right. Because they wanted to have a cover for today.
Well, it just feels that they still don't have a solution to where they're going to sleep at night. That's my thing is you're taking away their tents and you're giving them no alternative. How does the mayor stand by this? I just don't understand. I understand the hygiene issues, but even if you look at where they are, they're trying to be away from like a major residential areas. Over there on 12th and Weather was literally like a small Asian commercial district, and the folks there weren't saying that, hey, come and get them. You know, the business owner, people were aware of it. So again, it just doesn't feel right. This isn't sitting well with me at all.
I can see it's gotten under your skin a bit, huh?
Yeah, it's not fair.
No, and it's literally just 2 or 3 blocks from our studios right here on South Jackson Street. Before we get out of here, well, not before we get out of here for the show, before we get out of the local section, man, we go down I-5 down to Portland. Kind of a sad story there. One of Portland's oldest black, actually I think it is the oldest black barbershop, Geneva's Sheer Perfection in Northeast Portland. Any heartbreak. You know what I'm saying? The owner, Paul Knowles, said that he's calling it quits. He said that the new social distancing doesn't really work out for somebody his age. And it's like, it's crazy because like Geneva's is like the Earls of Portland. You know what I'm saying? And Paul Knowles is like, he's a legend down there. They call him the mayor of Northeast Portland. You know, opened several nightclubs and music venues. But Geneva's is, a lot of people down there in the Portland area are definitely taking the closing very hard.
Portland business closing its doors for good. Geneva's Sheer Perfection was the premier barbershop and beauty salon in Portland's black community. It's been on Northeast MLK for nearly 30 years. Many famous people have been there, from athletes to entertainers. Geneva's owner, Paul Knowles, says the COVID-19 pandemic makes it impossible to keep it feeling like a community.
The new restrictions that they put on salons and beauty shops and businesses, it's just too much for an old person, you know, and it's time to go. It's time to go.
You know, Knowles was also a longtime nightclub owner who's known as the mayor of Northeast Portland, a great person. Ken Boddy will have more on Paul Knowles and Geneva's on Monday's Where We Live segment.
Short break right now. When we come back, we have the national headlines. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
I was at the grand opening of the Liberty Bank building, and I just saw so many folks there who had dreams and aspirations of something like that happening again in our community, where once that was the norm, we developed, we built, we created, and now to have to say we got to come back and do it again, this is just the first time, was inspiring to me. I think it also I think Africatown has created a model that others can follow, but I also think that you guys have created, you know, just an energy around the community of folks that are now believing that we can, hold on to it. We're not done. It's not over. The game ain't over. Sometimes, when you look at the clock, I'm playing sports. You down 21 points in the first quarter. You can either start working harder to get back in it, or you can shut it down and say it's over. Well, you guys have let us know that the game's not over. It's not over.
Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury, joined by Treyana Holiday.
Hey.
And what's that? What's your sweatshirt say?
So you know what, y'all? Let's give a shout out to Mahogany Books. Right here, it says Black Books Matter. And Mahogany Books, you guys can support them. They are in DC, but Black owned. Got all the stuff. So yeah, I'm repping my Black on, my.
I see you've already been making your endorsement deals without me, huh?
You'll always be my manager.
Yeah, you're making all these endorsement moves, man. I'm still sitting over here in my old sweater. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? First up in the national headlines, a story out of Florida. WKMG is reporting there that the woman who was in charge of the dashboard about the numbers of actual coronavirus infections and deaths in Florida, she's been fired from her job. She said that the governor's office wanted her to suppress the numbers. Now there's a big stories coming out of Florida and Georgia about the total numbers being suppressed. State of Georgia, Governor Kemp's office put out some crazy graph with dates all out of order and everything else to try to show like a downward trend. And again, here in Florida, they're saying that, somebody's playing with the numbers.
A developing story we're staying on top of this evening has to do with the way Florida tracks the fight against the coronavirus. This is the COVID-19 dashboard. It highlights things like testing and deaths. But now the woman who helped design it is off the job.
And Florida lawmakers want to know why and are even calling for an investigation. News 6's Crystal Moyer reports.
Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried sent this letter to the governor requesting that the Surgeon General and other officials involved in Rebecca Jones's firing appear before the cabinet for questioning. In an email obtained by our media partner Florida Today, Jones says she was told to manipulate data on the website, then fired. Florida's COVID-19 dashboard is one of our go-to sources, providing public access to data and information on the virus. Rebecca Jones helped create and manage that dashboard with the Florida Department of Health and had been with the department since 2018. In an email to a CBS station in West Palm Beach, Jones said she was fired because she was ordered to censor some data but refused. She announced her removal from managing the dashboard website last Friday in an email obtained by our media partner Florida Today, and says she is no longer managing the dashboard and its data.
Yeah. Before I get to that, I always forget to say this at the top of the show. Tag and share this show with a friend, like right now, somebody who could really appreciate this message, appreciate what we're talking about, appreciate, some Black excellence on the screen, you know what I'm saying? Make sure right now you tag, you share, you let people know about the Morning Update Show. Now, so yeah, in Florida, Florida and Georgia, it's a lot of speculation. In those states, they're not letting some of the numbers be released as far as infections in nursing homes and things like that. So it's just like these same governments in Florida and Georgia are known for suppressing the vote. It looks like they're suppressing the corona numbers.
My goodness. I mean, when does it end? Oh, that's kind of my thing. I think that what we're seeing is so much dysfunction during COVID that I don't know how that's going to help any state. We need to learn from the truth. I mean, here it is. I mean, unless you just want a bunch of folks to die and you don't care, but we need to learn from the truth. I'm talking about Florida and Georgia, right? I mean, right. What is that going to do? How does that help move the conversation and move the actual strategy forward? It really doesn't. And so, I'm just like, one more thing from the South. I can't take it all. That's too much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the president said that he doesn't really want testing because more tests means more positive people. And he's like, well, why do we need to test? Best thing is this guy's very transparent.
Well, it was also a badge of honor for him that he had that many tests.
Exactly. Keeping it on the Trumpster fire, yesterday he threatened the good people of the state of Michigan to withhold federal aid, because the Secretary of State in Michigan said that they were going to mail out ballot applications to all voters there. You know, because of coronavirus, people are like, man, they just want to do voting by mail. You know what I'm saying? And there was quite a few state governments that did that. We talk about in this clip that we're going to play here. We're talking about Michigan, but also Nevada. And Michigan has a Democratic governor, and Nevada has a Republican governor. People are just like, yo, you should be able to vote by mail. Trump is vehemently opposed to that. And he said, he's backed it down a little bit, but he said that if Michigan votes by mail, he's going to withhold federal aid. And not only is federal aid now from people in Michigan who were hurting, but then 2 dams broke yesterday in Michigan as well. So it's a natural disaster. And that's a whole nother story, because a lot of the people that showed up at the Capitol with their guns are from the same region where the dam burst. And so now they need the government. Anyways, let's play this clip right here. This is Trump threatening to withhold aid from the state of Michigan.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday threatened to withhold funding to Michigan, angry over the state's plan to send mail-in voting applications to all voters. In a tweet, he claimed that Michigan would send absentee ballots to 7.7 million people, and without citing any law, wrote that this was done illegally and without authorization by a rogue Secretary of State. That Secretary of State responded, writing, "Hi, I also have a name. It's Jocelyn Benson, and we sent applications, not ballots, just like my GOP colleagues in Iowa, Georgia, Nebraska, and West Virginia." Benson on Tuesday said the applications would be sent to eligible voters, so no one has to choose between their health and their right to vote. The question of how to conduct elections amid a coronavirus pandemic is playing out nationwide. Last month's voting in Wisconsin was a test case, and media reports linked several new cases of the illness to in-person voting. Despite this, President Donald Trump has opposed efforts to boost voting by mail.
The problem with the mail-in ballots, it's subject to tremendous corruption.
Although the president himself voted by mail in March.
Trump's a wild dude. So, you know, he's backed off that a little bit. He's got a rally today in Michigan. And so I think that he figured it out, like, oh, man, it's probably not a good thing to say that I'm going to, you know what I'm saying, withhold aid. And to be honest with you, the biggest voter fraud through mail that's come out is actually down there in North Carolina. It was a congressional district there, and the Republicans are actually found guilty of stuffing the ballot down there, and the election was invalidated. You know, the military's been voting by mail for a long time. You know, absentee ballot, everything else. This guy, I mean, you see, one thing about Trump, though, he makes a lot of moves in broad daylight. He's making all these moves to try to obstruct, you know, this upcoming election.
I don't know that it's going to work for him. I don't know. I mean,
I've
voted by mail the entire time I voted, because as soon as I left here, I was out to, so I've always voted by mail. I don't understand the big national debate about it. We need to be putting our votes in, and also I just want to say that him with all this withholding federal aid, that stuff is like illegal. Like, you can't even do that. You're not supposed to be able to do that. So again, it just blows my mind, the moves he comes up with.
Quid pro quo. You look out for me, I'll give you the cash.
Right.
You know, man, some more troubling news around COVID. There's been a stronger link to a childhood inflammatory respiratory disease and COVID-19. You know, it appears to be trailing like a month behind. There's more and more cases being diagnosed, and basically, you know, I mean, it's actually caused death. This story right here talks about a young girl that actually died of this disease, and they're really trying to get a better understanding of it, but they know for sure that it's linked to COVID.
Brianna Dyson was just 15 when she started complaining about stomach pain and a rash.
It happened so fast. I never thought that taking my daughter in the hospital for stomach pain, I wouldn't be walking out of there with her.
Within days, the Baltimore teen was dead, the latest victim of the newly discovered multi-system inflammatory syndrome. Dariana had tested positive for COVID antibodies.
I hope that can save another child. People need to really understand that this kills people.
Today, the CDC held a briefing call with doctors on what it's learning about the illness, now found in at least 24 states and 9 countries around the world. Cases seem to be peaking about a month behind COVID-19. Many of the children didn't know they had coronavirus, suggesting the illness comes from an overactive immune response. In New York City alone, there are now 147 cases.
I think that's the tip of the iceberg.
Long Island's Cohen's Children's Medical Center saw many of the early cases. Almost 80% had no underlying condition. Nearly all had gastrointestinal symptoms. And the hospital saw success with a plasma product called IVIG, which helps calm an overactive immune response.
Yeah. So we still haven't figured out everything around COVID. I mean, that's one thing that people should understand, that this is constantly evolving, and it's evolved just from some disease. It was just old people to this. Remember, then it was like young people can't get it and everything else. And this also throws, like, a monkey wrench into the plan of, like, schools can open back up. Because they're like, one of the things we've been saying is young people aren't as susceptible, all these other kinds of things. It's like, man, it's a lot of stuff we just don't know right now, unfortunately.
Absolutely. That's the thing. I feel that it's hitting us on multiple layers, and that's one of the things that makes me really cautious when I think about my kids, seeing that 15-year-old, so pretty, so much life left ahead for her. That this is a tragedy. I really do hope that that the people that are surrounded by this illness, like all of the counties, they showed all the states, 9 different countries. I really hope that they listen to the CDC and start to listen to the science behind this, so we can understand what's going on with that particular illness.
Yeah, listen to the science. So on the political news, Joe Biden launched his Lift Every Voice campaign of how he's going to work with us Negroes and make life better for us. And they've been trying to push it and, gain some traction around it. And so I was looking at the Black News Channel, which I'm a big fan. By the way, Black News Channel is available on most cable networks. So if you're watching us on cable, if you have cable TV, then support the Black News Channel. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy being black and in news and have a national platform, so they need our support. So anyway, they talked to Mark Morial, who used to be the mayor of New Orleans back in the day. He's the head of the National Urban League, and it turns out that Joe Biden's Lift Every Voice platform has a lot of the input from the National Urban League's platform.
Mayor Morial, you along with other national black civil rights leaders participated in a call with former Vice President Joe Biden after the release of the Lift Every Voice proposal. Tell us about the call.
Joe Biden invited us to the call. It was a powerful call. He made it very clear how important the African American community was to him, both from an elections standpoint and a governing standpoint. And of course, he gave great credit to the support of African Americans, particularly in South Carolina, for his ability to achieve his status now, which is the presumptive Democratic nominee. One thing he did do, which I thought was an important step, is he released a plan for Black America. And other than the Jackson campaign of the 80s, this is the first time I've seen a major candidate release a, quote, plan explicitly dealing with issues facing Black America. And for us, the National Urban League, we shared our ideas from both the State of Black America and the Main Street Marshall Plan with not only Vice President Biden, but with everyone running and the incumbent too, saying these are the ideas, the policies, the plans that you should embrace. It was good to see that many of our ideas found their way into Joe Biden's plan.
All right, so there's Mark Morial right there, the National Urban League, saying that a lot of the Lift Every Voice platform that Joe Biden has put together for us Negro people, a lot of the inputs come from the Urban League, which at least means that Joe Biden is listening to some black people when he's putting his platform together.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, look, Joe Biden,
news.
you're going to have to cast that net a bit wider. Let me just say that. I cannot sit silent on this. At the end of the day, this is the problem with this country, Omari, is that there are some tokenized organizations that are always the go-to, and unfortunately, that is not the comprehensive voice of the black population. I am happy that Joe Biden is speaking to black people. I do think he needs to cast a wider net. That's all I want to say. Because again, I mean, there's a lot of people that put into the plight of the black community. It's not just the few organizations like the NAACP or the Urban League that they can go to. I think Joe Biden's campaign would be very smart to dive a little bit deeper and see what community-based organizations on the ground are really doing work in all of the counties that, you know, look like they're supporting him already. Go right to those states and figure out who's doing the work so that you can really connect with the people and let that message spread throughout the community. So I'm glad that he's talking to them, but I also think a wider net should be cast.
I would say that, well, I would agree with you, but I would say that I don't think that, of course, there's any harm in speaking with an organization like the Urban League and incorporating some of the things that they find important. You know, and they have a platform to be able to do that. But I think that if Joe Biden really wants to be able to capture the excitement and the innovation and invigoration of young people, then they're also going to have to, like you said, reach out to different types of organizations as well.
Very well said.
You know, and I mean, I'm not throwing any shade onto the Urban League.
No.
What I'm saying is that there's a younger generation. As soon as you put an established name to something, they run away from it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, it's these people. No, I don't want to, because, you know, people feel that there definitely is a generational gap. A lot of people we're talking to, they're still not excited about Biden, but you know what I'm saying? My mama said we got to vote for the Supreme Court. I know she's white. I'm not telling nobody not to vote. We just got to get the Supreme Court. You know what I'm saying? But man,
I agree with
Biden
your mom
is,
there. I think we got to stop with all of the reasons to not vote for Biden. We need to understand and agree on some things here, because that's one of the things that the Democratic Party does very well. They will break down a candidate, you know, and at the end of the day, what do the Republicans do? They uplift their candidate. So I don't know if we're going to talk about the bipartisan issue. It gets to that point where I'm definitely with your mom on this one. We got to look for the long haul.
I'm smart. I'm always with my mom.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, we're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, it's our favorite part of the show, and today is Throwback Thursday, so we put a bunch of different clips together here, kind of giving some retrospect of, you know, our Melanin Magic moments. You're watching the Morning Update Show. We'll be right back.
I was at the grand opening of the Liberty Bank building, and I just saw so many folks there who had dreams and aspirations of something like that happening again in our community, where once that was the norm, we developed, we build, we created, and now to have to say we got to come back and do it again, this is just the first time, was inspiring to me. I think it also I think Africatown has created a model that others can follow, but I also think that you guys have created, you know, just an energy around the community of folks that are now believing that we can, you know, hold on to it. We're not done. You know, it's not over. The game ain't over. Sometimes, you know, when you look at the clock, you know, I'm playing sports, you know, you're down 21 points in the first quarter. You can either start working harder to get back in it, or you can shut it down and say it's over. Well, you guys have let us know that the game's not over. It's not over.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury, joined by my co-host here, Triana Holiday, and we're going to jump right into it. See, we're on the clock. A lot of people, they only tune in just for this part of the show. They just listen to the rest of the show. Womp, womp, womp. Then we get here where we're highlighting our melanin and telling amazing stories. Today's Throwback Thursday. First thing that we found was a clip from National Geographic that showed Oklahoma in the 1920s. And they said that there was over 50 prosperous black towns in Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? Everything from the mayor, the sheriff on down, business booming and everything else. Now, we know the history of Oklahoma. People know Tulsa, Black Wall Street, you know what I'm saying, everything else. But I thought it was important we start Throwback Thursday here, where it's only a 2-minute clip, but it shows It documents how vibrant black business was in the 1920s, 100 years ago in Oklahoma.
And Oklahoma is a unique space in terms of the number of African-American towns that were established. Some suggest upwards of 50 African-American towns between 1924 and 1928. Reverend S.S. Jones was going around documenting this sort of self-determined, vibrant African-American communities. You see the African-American educators, doctors, lawyers, landowners, oil barons. And I think that's what's so remarkable about this footage. To think that individuals, how many years out of slavery, are now owning oil wells that are producing 2,000 barrels a day. Is that not the ultimate American dream? Is that not the ultimate American story? It flies in the face of what I think some people consider part of African American history and culture. And I think that that was one of the things that Oklahoma and what S.S. Jones is really kind of showing, is that African American history and culture is not a monolith. And in a way, it became kind of like a marketing tool to encourage individuals to migrate, to move there, that this is a place where you can live, you can thrive, and peacefully reside. There were still palpable racial tensions. There are lynchings, there's Jim Crow, segregation, there's all of these things, and you still have an African-American community, or many communities, that really speak to the fortitude and resilience of Black people in this country.
It's important to show these kind of images because a lot of times people, you have to be able to see something to believe it. And so when we talk about, economic empowerment and, and Black people building business and building community and building commerce, some people have never seen it, either with their own eyes or that they've never seen it historically. So, you know what I'm saying? It's important to show people that, like, yeah, man, we're just doing it again. We did it before, so it isn't like it can't be done. We're just doing it again.
I love that. I love the spirit of it, honestly. I mean, looking at that, it's like, that's literally what Africatown Community Land Trust is about. That's what the whole jurisdiction of Africatown is about. And I know people out there that we ain't from Africa and all that. At the end of the day, you guys, it's about the collectivism. It's about us understanding that a lot of our history was ripped away, and now we have the opportunity to come together and create something magical again. Look at those towns. Look at those people living in their own homes, working oil wells, doctors, lawyers, working for their town. That's really what we need right now. We need to get out of the individualistic mindset and come back into the village. I love that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So the second thing we got today, Throwback Thursday, is a lot of people don't know that the city of Centralia, right here in the I-5, south of Seattle, it was about the midpoint between Seattle and Portland, was actually founded by a Black man. His name was George Washington. A lot of people don't know too is that, people came out on Lewis and Clark on the Oregon Trail because they heard of all this great expanse out west. People were coming out here in Oregon at the time. Oregon was a state before Washington. I think Oregon was a state maybe 30 years before Washington was a state. But Oregon was like, nah, we don't want you Black people here. So all Black people was banned. You wanted to go into Oregon, if you was Black, you couldn't go there. So you take a right, you come north into the state of Washington. So anyways, this is just a short clip from KOIN, a TV station in Portland, where they highlighted the city of Centralia and its founder, George Washington.
The story of an African-American pioneer who founded a well-known city just 90 miles north of Portland. His hidden history is a little-known part of where we live. His name was George Washington.
This is downtown Centralia, and all of this was originally George Washington's homestead, and he had 640 acres that went all the way to the base of the hill here. So this was his farm, and when the railroad came through town just about a block away in 1872, he and his wife, Mary Jane, decided to found a city here. This is the largest community in America that was founded by an African-American couple.
Born to a slave father and an English woman in Virginia, Washington's mother gave him to a white couple named the Cochrans to save him from slavery. George learned to read and became a skilled woodsman and marksman. They moved to Ohio, then Missouri. When George tried to start a distillery in Missouri, he almost went to prison because of discriminatory laws.
He told his foster parents, who were white, I'm going to find a place if there is a decent place, I'm going to find it.
On to the Oregon Trail with stops in Oregon City and Portland. The family settled near the Chehalis and Skookumchuck rivers. The Cochrans purchased the land and deeded it to Washington. Centerville became Centralia, Washington, incorporated in 1886. Washington was known as being generous and fair.
And we walk on the streets of Centralia, and people just say this is the friendliest city I've ever been in. And I think that that is his spirit that's left here.
George Washington died in 1905, buried in the heart of the city he created.
Well, the city of Centralia is planning a bicentennial celebration in August of George Washington's birth. They're raising money for a statue of Washington in the city's main park, appropriately called Washington Park. And there are many namesakes for George Washington in the city of Centralia. There's a Washington School, Washington Street. Everybody thinks it's because of the state or because of George Washington, the founder of our country, but it's actually named after George Washington, the founder of Centralia.
Yeah, so, I mean, fortunately, I got an A in Washington State history in the 9th grade with the Green Book, you know what I'm saying? And so, I've known about George, actually before then, though. Esther Mumford back in the day, you know what I'm saying? Big shout out to, again, to Esther Mumford, all of our black historians, they're treasures of our community. Would tell these stories about people like George Washington and Centralia and black pioneers and things like that. So
you gotta love that, and especially that is right here in our neck of the woods. Yes, and I just want to point out: did you see all the native attributes in George Washington's face? I mean, I'm just saying. Sometimes that argument about everybody coming from Africa, a lot of us were already here in this land. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I told you we gotta get you your own show, Trey. You know what I'm saying? So next up on Throwback Thursday, we want to keep it on the historical tip. Is the first black astronaut, Guy Bluford. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's dope. Born in Philly, 1942. He was a Air Force fighter pilot and engineer, and in 1983. He was the first black man to rocket into space aboard the Challenger. So here's just a short look back, retrospective on his career, as actually produced by NASA.
Astronauts, their first flight is generally the thing that's most exciting for them. That's the thing that they remember the most. And I still remember rocketing up, going from 0 velocity to 18,000 miles an hour in about 8.5 minutes. So the ride up was exciting. And then the view on orbit is spectacular. You get to see the Earth from 150 to 160 miles up, and you realize how wonderful this planet is, and you get very pretty vistas and that sort of thing. And then the other thing that I enjoyed was zero G. I enjoyed the floating around in zero G and the freedom that you have in zero G. So for me, flying in space was a wonderful experience. I was excited about flying on STS-8. I recognized that I was opening the door for other African Americans to fly in space, but I was also part of a team with reference to learning how to fly the shuttle at night, both launch as well as landing. So I take a great deal of pride in that, not only for what we did as a team, but also for my contribution to opening the door for other African Americans to fly in space.
Yeah, first black astronaut, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the story of these early astronauts, man, it's amazing because, their journey was quite a bit longer, than others. And then, actually we even lost one, Ron McNair from Lake City, South Carolina. I know I was a McNair scholar in college, you know what I'm saying? And he was on the space shuttle, I think it was 84, 85. That actually blew up. But then you've got so many astronauts since then. Dr. Mae Jemison, we got to meet, you know what I'm saying, biologist, and I don't know, I always wanted to go into space, you know what I'm saying? It ain't quite work out. So I see these stories about black astronauts, man, I'm always intrigued, and you know what I'm saying, it's historical and people should know this, like there's nothing we can't do, you know what I'm saying? Go into outer space, we got role models for that. People been there,
Exactly. And again, I don't know if our audience or like even for me, my kids, if we would be exposed to that, right? Again, utilizing this platform to educate and inform the community again, with the brilliance, like injected back into our lives of all of the things that we've done. I'm so for that.
That's right. So we got 2 segments left here, and both of them are talking about how beautiful blackness is. You know what I'm saying? The first clip right here, we have man, now I can't remember, Kathleen Cleaver, right? So Kathleen Cleaver, let me grab it all together. So Kathleen Cleaver, she was a former Black Panther, and I mean her birth name was Kathleen Neal. She married Eldridge Cleaver, the Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? It's a crazy, you know, this time with them with the Panthers, and it was like they were being hunted. They lived in Algeria for a while. You know what I'm saying? They lived in North Korea for a while. They were in France, then tried to come back to America. Now she's actually once everything, the dust settled, she went to Yale, got a law degree, and now she's a law professor at Emory University. But I wanted to show this clip right here from many, many moons ago when Kathleen Cleaver was trying to explain why black is so beautiful.
Here, myself, all of us were born with our hair like this, and we just wear it like this because it's natural, because the reason for it, you might say, is like a new awareness among black people that their own natural appearance, physical appearance is beautiful and it's pleasing to them. For so many, many years, we were told that only white people were beautiful. Only straight hair, light eyes, light skin was beautiful. And so black women would try everything they could, straighten their hair and lighten their skin to look as much like white women. But this has changed because black people are aware. And white people are aware of it too because white people now want natural wigs. They want wigs like this. Dig it? Isn't it beautiful? All right. Black is beautiful. Bring it. Said I want it free. Bring it.
Yo, that's fresh, right? Like if I could still grow hair, you know.
Yeah, it's evolved a bit too because you know they got the braid. I mean, we still do natural stuff. A lot of sisters are no longer, you know, doing perms. I mean, that's a real thing in our community. It used to be so heavy, but now there's so many people who do more protective styles or maybe something to cover their natural hair. But yeah,
I mean, this is one thing. Although you know there's trends that do come in across the continent of Africa, and trends that have gone out. Skin bleaching was one. It's like but for the majority of it, it's like. It's different being in a society where there isn't all these pressures. You know what I'm saying? Because in a lot of countries, you know what I'm saying, having some curves is in. Don't know, you know, somebody you skinny, they be like, man, are you sick? You know what I'm saying? I mean, and like, you know, rocking like natural, especially like in East Africa, it's just women, you know, they're keeping it all the way low. You know what I'm saying? And so when they're not caught up on all these things, it's like women in America of all colors, especially black women, face so many pressures on image and looks and everything else, man, that, you know, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it's good to have a reaffirming voice with that. Our last clip here, Dr. Martin Luther King, and we found a clip, pulled it out, because you know what? King's legacy, a lot of time, you know, it's reduced to, well, you know, he was looking for peace and content of character, and all those things are true. But King, especially right before he got assassinated, his tone was like self-determination. It was like, you know, he was in Memphis the night before he died. He gave a speech talking about a bank in. He was like, you guys need to take all your money out these banks in Memphis and put it all in the black banks. He said an insurance in, change your insurance policies, the black insurance policy. You know, I mean, the timeliness of his death is a whole nother story. But when it was all just about kumbaya, it was good. But when King's tone changed to self-determination and black economics and things like that, you know what I'm saying, his life ended. But I thought that this was a fantastic, it's a 2-minute speech right here, a fantastic speech by Dr. King. Speeches like this are rarely seen, where he talks about how beautiful blackness is and how black people need to be self-determined to create the future that they want.
I come here tonight and plead with you. Believe in yourself and believe that you're somebody. As I said to the group last night, nobody else can do this for us. No document can do this for us. No Lincolnian Emancipation Proclamation can do this for us. No Kennethonian or Johnsonian civil rights bill can do this for us. If the Negro is to be free, he must move down into the inner resources of his own soul and sign with a pen and ink of self-assertive manhood his own Emancipation Proclamation. Don't let anybody take your manhood. Be proud of our heritage. As somebody said earlier tonight, we don't have anything to be ashamed of. Somebody told a lie one day. They couched it in language. They made everything black, ugly, and evil. Look in your dictionary and see the synonyms of the word black. There's always something degrading and low and sinister. Look at the word white. It's always something pure, high, and clean. But I want to get the language right tonight. I want to get the language so right that everybody here will cry out, yes, I'm black, I'm proud of it, I'm black and beautiful.
Right. And so, man, if you're not feeling some kind of way right now, if your blood's not pumping, you know what I'm saying, after this reaffirmation of the beauty of your blackness and your worthiness and your melanin, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes we have to hear these voices from the past, you know what I'm saying? The message remains the same.
I mean, straight up, I'm on fire today. I just love that we end the show like that. And again, you are so right, because not enough people see Dr. King in that light. And that is truly where his message led him, where it ended. I am so glad that we could end our Throwback Thursday today on a message like that from Dr. King. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, that's the best. And honestly, he's so right. Right now, your black is your beauty, and don't let nobody tell you that black stands for negativity, because everything comes from the black.
All right now. Man, I'm telling you, we gotta get you your own show. I'm ready. I'm ready for it, huh? What you gonna call it?
It's coming, y'all. Chats with Trey, y'all. It's
coming. You see, it's already in the planning.
I told you, always ready, man.
That's what's up. Hey, well, look, we hope that we informed you here today. You know what I'm saying? And we really hope that you enjoyed the programming. Make sure tag and share with a friend, everything else. And we have something special coming for you guys tomorrow, because Daryl is out and about. He's big time now. You know, the show is taking off. So Daryl's getting booked everywhere. You know what I'm saying? But we got something special coming for you guys tomorrow and Monday as well. Want to thank you again for your support and for your viewership. I'm wishing you a very happy Thursday, and we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Peace.